Hello, this is a trumpet and it didn't have a water key on the third valve slide. So I've decided to add one. And this is Amador water key, has 5 parts. This is the housing, this is the insert, and then followed by a coil spring. And this is the cap on top of the spring, and finally a C-clip to lock everything into place so they don't fall out, that is. And this is how it works. So push this button here. So the center section, the middle section of the insert, that is smaller, so water can come out. And we also need to drill a hole, of course. That's on the serval slide on the surface itself. But first we need to solder this on. I use a clamp to hold this thing and magic glue the housing first. The housing surface attached to the slide looks like this. It's not perfect, but that's good because the solder can fill in the gap, and so that it doesn't need to be shown outside. I didn't make a video when I did it because I didn't think that I could do it. So it's kind of rough and crooked, but it works. So I'll try to explain here. And I applied the rosin flux paste here. I use a tiny toothpick and then put in the gap here. Then I have a lighter. It's actually a butane torch. To do the soldering. And the solder is here. That's the ratio of the components. Around this will be nice. And the thickness of the solder doesn't need to be big. This is really kind of like the smallest one. So when the torch heats up the rosin, the flux, that is, so the surface will be deoxidized, and the flux becomes like water, and then goes around the gap and then dissipates by the heat. And the solder is also put it here around the gap, and it melts, and then you will just follow the flux and go around the gap to fill around the gap, and almost instantly, real fast. But I'm not an expert, so this first try is kind of the first I did is on this is kind of rough, but I decided just leave it. Didn't want to try the second time. So it works, yeah. So the tough one will be, we put this in the right place. See, one side is larger, of course that's for the insertion of the centerpiece. This one is smaller. So when we put it in, which side is gonna be facing in, facing out. Usually, a normal trumpet will have a third valve slide on that side, so the push button is pushing from that side. If you have the trumpet here, which is rare, that third valve slides on this side, then you probably want to have the push button installed on this side. Usually they face is outside. And when you have 2 of them, so it will be easier for your hand to do it like this. One push from this side, one push from the other side. Depends on their position. If they are swapped, but then you have to swap the push button positions too. But it's operatable even though you installed it on the wrong side. So once it's glued on and soldered on, and what we will do is the drill through this hole here with the smaller the size of the drill bit's got to be smaller than this. And then carefully, slowly drill through. You want bigger holes so the water come out faster, but you cannot be too big because the hole size is just this. You don't want to damage this opening or the other end either. So, and after drilling, see the larger opening end is to put the centerpiece in. The small end goes in. And then the coil spring goes in. And then the cap. See if I can do this with one hand. And then you have to push this whole thing in so that you can apply the tiny C-clip to lock everything. It has to go in. The thumb hold in. Then the right hand use a threading needle to try to squeeze it into smaller shape and to push the whole thing in. Happy playing.